We are back. You are chatting with John P. Today, I'm going to be talking about the best watches for summer 2020. Now, while I do apply kind of a coolness factor when I'm reviewing these watches, and it's going to be entirely subjective for that specific point, I am also considering how durable the watch is, how sporty it is, and whether or not it is on a bracelet. When we talk about watches being on bracelets, when it's summer, it's humid, it's muggy, depending on where you are, but for the intent and purpose of this video, we're going to be assuming that the climate is going to be hotter than it would be in other places for this time of year in which you're watching this video where I'm releasing it. You want the watch to be on a bracelet generally because you can start getting sweaty, it gets humid, it might be raining, and on a leather strap, that could be a big issue. Now, you could put these watches or any of these watches on rubber or some other type of canvas or sailcloth, and those are all great options. But I think on a bracelet, if a watch comes on a bracelet, it kind of leads to the fact that it can also be put on some of those, whereas if you had a dress watch and it comes on a leather strap, it might not necessarily mean that you could put it on a rubber or canvas strap. It's just not designed for it because it might be, or it is very likely to be a dress watch, which would be a little bit weird putting a rubber strap on a dress watch. But nonetheless, I want to share with you on the wrist today, I have a pretty cool watch, a Rolex Oyster Perpetual 39 with the red grape. It's kind of this beautiful purple. And if you watch a previous video where I talked about a very negative experience at a Rolex boutique, I want to make sure that I convey that I don't hate Rolex watches. Now, I think there are some watches spec for spec that you can get a much better deal, and my personal collection and also what we sell at Del Rey Watch certainly lends to that notion. But when I bought this particular watch, I bought one of these for Federico from Federico Talks Watches, my business partner at Del Rey Watch, and he purchased this one for me. So when I talk about we were looking to get these for business associates, we got them for each other to kind of celebrate that our business has been going for about 3 years now, and we're doing very well. And I want to thank you all so much for being there with us through this journey and supporting us. And we kind of got this to kind of commemorate the occasion of actually making it to this point. Day one, we weren't really sure that how long it would last. The pre-owned watch industry was still a twinkle in many people's eyes, but it's kind of grown and flourished, and a lot of people are flocking to it because of the great deals that can be had. So once again, thank you guys so much for being here with us in this journey. And now let's jump into this list and talk about it. Now, I broke down these watches into different price points. It goes without saying that everyone is shopping around for something a little bit different. And so the first price point is up to $500 US. Now, this is going to be a Swatch watch. It's going to be from the System collection. It's the System Metal. Now, the System Metal apparently has been out for quite some time, for a few years plus at this point, though it's not as popular as their rubber strapped options. But this particular example I love a whole lot. It clocks in at just half of $500, so about $250 US, but it has this beautiful brushing that at this price point you don't find in too many watches. It looks a lot like an FP Journe Octa S. Now, I know I'm really extrapolating and taking this to the grandest scale, but it looks like a very similar profile of the watch, and that brushing is very reminiscent of the type of the metal brushing that they use on that model. So I think part of me likes it for that reason, but also it's mechanical. It has an automatic movement. It's 42 millimeters. It's very sporty, durable, rugged. You don't have to worry about it. You know, it's not that expensive. It's approachable. For some, it may be, and that's understandable. But in terms of luxury watches, it's very approachable, and that's why it's my number one pick. It checks off everything on the list. It's approachable, it's durable, it's sporty, it's on the bracelet, and I think it's cool because it looks very unique, and it features that automatic movement. And at this price point, you just don't get that too often. Next, at up to $1,500 US, we have a Doxa Sub 200. Now, this is a watch that is new to the lineup offered by Doxa, which is known for their sports watches. They're known for their dive watches. They're known for the Sub collection, which came out in Basel, I think Basel World 1967 or thereabouts. And that's when they unveiled their sub collection. Now, over the years, they've had so many different subs, sub shark hunters, usually in larger case sizes, some case sizes going up to 45 millimeters. This particular example is 42 millimeters, and that seems to be a trend that we see in dive and sports watches today. 41, 42, wearing in that size, that seems to be the go-to. Even the Rolex Submariner, which is quintessential sports watch, the maxi case is a 40, but it wears like a 42. So kind of that profile seems to be the hot go-to for sports watches today, whereas, in vintage times it was more along the lines of 38 to a smaller slim profile 40. Nonetheless, this example is a beautiful option because it's just under $1,000 US. It comes from a name that is known for sports watches, and when we talk about summer, there is nothing better than their rubber strap offerings on this Doxa Sub 200. They have these beads of rice-esque rubber straps that I've seen coming from no one else, and it looks like a beads of rice bracelet, but it's rubber, and it comes in these fluorescent or neon kind of colors, these summer tones that some would really enjoy in the summertime or spring or any time of the year perhaps. So you have the yellows, you got the orange, quintessential Doxa, you have a blue, a turquoise, I think there's also a black, and that carries over to the dials as well. And I believe that the quality of this watch is on par with watches double the price, and that's something that I really like to see coming out of a brand because they're setting the tone for other brands, offering a much more approachable piece that still has the quality, the heritage, and they're willing to get a little bit funky with it. And I think a brand that probably has lost a lot of market share over time really needs to do that. So I like this one. Very cool, rugged, durable, and that's why it is on my list. Next, at the up to $5,000 price point, now almost up to $5,000 price point, this is the Omega Seamaster Ceramic bezel with the white dial. Now the retail price on a bracelet for this one is about $5,200 US. Haggle a little bit, shop it around, you'll get it well under that, no problem. We were trading them on our website well under that, so I know that it can be done, though this white dial variant is becoming ultra desirable and pretty difficult to hunt down. Blue dials were the thing the last 3 years. Everyone wanted blue dial. Every manufacturer came out with a blue dial, and some just finally releasing blue dials out there in the market, like the Chopard, Alpine Eagle, and some of the others. But blue dials, I think they're kind of weaning a little bit, and what we have now is this desire for white dials. You see it in the 39mm Rolex Oyster Perpetual. Now you see it in the Omega Seamaster Ceramic bezel, and they are becoming so hot. The white on white with a little bit of black accents is, I believe, the style for summer 2020 and going into the future. But of course, spec for spec, this watch is on par and even beats a little bit a Rolex Submariner ceramic bezel current generation. Now you can watch a previous video where I break down the specs. Haters in the comments will say, oh no, Omega will never be Rolex. Maybe based on brand recognition and prestige, maybe. I think they've come a long way in the last 10 years, but spec for spec, quality, I think Omega does make a very serious argument for those looking for the best dive watch. Now, when we talk about summer watches, obviously it ticks off all the boxes. It has a deep water resistance rating, 300 meters. It's sporty. You could throw it on a rubber strap. It comes on a bracelet. What more can be said? I think it's very self-explanatory. If you're willing to get into that price point, this is the one to go for. Now, at this price point, I will throw in an honorable mention for those that love the Grand Seiko brand as well as want something a little bit off the beaten path. We have the SBGA 427 and the SBGA 429. I almost bought this watch, but it's just not in the stores yet. I went to the Grand Seiko boutique. They didn't have it in stock. I wanted this one because it comes in 39 millimeters, and I really like that profile on this watch, whereas most of their spring drive watches are a little bit larger in size to compensate for the movement as well as give a little bit of buffer and chunk in the watch, which adds shock resistance capabilities. But I love this watch mostly because of the dial, and that's something Grand Seiko is focusing on. You have this bamboo-esque or bamboo dial. You have a lighter color, a darker color, this beautiful kind of ingrained pattern on the dial, as well as those green accents, the dark green, the light green, Absolutely beautiful. And when you think of summer, you think of the trees being green, you think of the green on the dial. It just makes sense in so many ways, and that is the spirit behind the watch as well. I could talk all day about the movements and all of that, but this is an honorable mention, and I'm only throwing it in there because it's in the back of my mind. So we'll do a later video. Maybe I'll get one in the hands and actually get some close-up shots if they actually hit the stores anytime soon. And lastly, I would like to finish up this list with the $10,000 and under price point. Now, at $10,000, you can get so much watch. You can get most of what's available out in the watch industry. I mean, you're going to be leaving yourself short of some pieces, notably independents, as well as manufacturers like Patek Philippe and Vacheron and some of the others, unless you squeeze into some of the less desirable offerings from those brands in pre-owned. But when we look at this under 10,000, well under 10,000, we can get into a JaegerLeCoultre Polaris 41 millimeters automatic watch. I love this watch because it's very vintage inspired. It's reminiscent of the offerings that they had once upon a time. And I love that while they acknowledge that, they bring all of the aspects and components of a modern sports watch to your wrist. And what's even more interesting and what really makes this on the list, besides the quality and the brand recognition, is the coolness factor. You're not going to see very many people out in public wearing this. In fact, I can't think of any time I've ever seen anyone wearing this watch in public. And in Miami, so many people wear luxury watches. All the time, everywhere, every restaurant, everyone is wearing luxury watches. But I've never seen this on the wrist of anyone, even at watch collecting meetups and people that come to the office and people that I know. No one is wearing this. So if you want something unique and stylish and quality, this is a great option for you. And I think that the prices on JLC watches are going up a little bit over time. They're becoming much more on the high end. We have this bit of a trend in the watch industry where some brands and offerings are kind of pushing down and some are pushing up. And we have a bit of a split or divide. And it kind of leaves this segment between, I believe, $3,000 and $5,000, kind of splitting both ways for certain brands, and they kind of have to pick which side of the aisle they want to be on. And I believe JLC wants to be on the upper side of that aisle, and this option is so beautiful. When you look at the dial, it's got a mixture of a hammering finish, a polished finish, the different textures on the dial. The case construction is on par with anything you're going to see out of Vacheron, especially from the sports watch line, so a much higher priced watch. And you get these things pre-owned sometimes, $4,000, $4,500, with the retail of $7,500. It's a no-brainer, and I can talk about the movement finishing, so on and so forth. But I encourage you to actually look into this because I think not enough people are looking at JLC right now, and it leaves a lot of great value for those that are willing to go out, hunt a little bit, do the research, and jump into something that does not have a 6 to 7 year waiting list. So guys, what do we think? Are there any other watches that are on your wrist that you're excited to bring out for the summer? Sometimes people put away a watch, they're like, I only wear this time of year. I know it sounds crazy for some, but I see it all the time. I would love to hear it in the comments below. Also, some people are gonna say, why are you wearing a sweater? It's Miami, it's probably 100 degrees in the summer. Yep, that's right, but if you're from the area, then you know that everyone cranks the air conditioner pretty much all year round, especially in the summer, because it gets really moist, it gets humid inside, and it actually will do damage to the inside of the office or the inside of your apartment or condo or house. So you pretty much have to always have the air conditioning turn on or things get kind of like muggy and damp. It's a really weird phenomenon that I was not totally aware of when I moved from up north quite some time ago now, but it's something that happens, so that's why I have the sweater on. It's like 60 degrees in the office, but I'm not complaining because it's beautiful outside. It's summer. Everyone get ready for summer. Hopefully people are starting to come out of their houses and at least enjoy the outdoors a little bit. Guys, back to work for me. It's Monday morning. Thanks for watching. You have been chatting with John P. Ciao.